Former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Bill Taylor, joins us now to take a closer look at all of these developments. Ambassador, thanks so much for talking with us. Let's start with the dueling statements today. Prigozhin's radio statement, and then later President Putin made an address. What's your takeaway listening to both of them?
So, Lindsay, it's two thugs. They're two mafia heads going after each other. President Putin is trying to say that he's got things under control. He clearly didn't have things under control over the weekend. And Mr. Prigozhin says that he wasn't really trying for a coup. He wasn't attempting to take down the Russian government. It was just really a protest. Neither of these stories is very credible.
You say, yeah, he said this was a protest. Prigozhin also went on to say we had no goal of overthrowing the regime. Just to give a very simple understanding here, why would Prigozhin do this? Was this a power grab? What was the ultimate point? And obviously, this is somebody who's a strategist. I mean, he had to see some end game here. I'm curious from your perspective what that might have been.
It might have been, Lindsay, it might have been that he thought, Prigozhin could have thought that he was going to get more support than actually materialized. That is, he may have hoped or even had some reason to believe that some of the other military commanders, other Russian military commanders, who were just as upset as he is and was about the terrible decision that President Putin had made to both invade the neighbor and then send all of these Russian boys, young soldiers, to die. And clearly Prigozhin was angry about that, and he thought there would be other military leaders who were similarly angry. As he approached Moscow, it must have become clear to him that these other military leaders were keeping their heads down.
And today, Putin gave commanders and soldiers in the Wagner group a few options. Join the Russian military, drop their weapons and go home, or go to Belarus. We're talking about members of a formidable fighting force. What do you see them doing, and can they be trusted at this point?
Probably not. I would imagine if there are any of the Wagner soldiers who elect to take the contract with the Ministry of Defense, that they will not be trusted. I imagine there won't be very many anyway. Wagner pays pretty well. Prigozhin pays his people in Wagner pretty well, pretty top dollar to get them to volunteer. They are volunteers. For them now to sign up with the Ministry of Defense, they will not be paid the same. They'll be mistrusted. So I suspect not many will do that. Then there are some that may go home. Some of these Wagner soldiers are criminals, as we know, and they may have been promised amnesty. There's not much discussion of what happens when they go home. Then the third category, Lindsay, as you say, some may decide to go to Belarus. But even Belarus is a questionable place. I mean, Belarus is part of the Union state with Russia, so it's very close to Russia. We know that President Lukashenko is very close to and dependent upon Putin. So Belarus is not going to be a very hospitable place for Prigozhin or the Wagner troops. So I imagine that Wagner troops and Prigozhin will try to get out of Belarus as fast as they can.
Big picture this for us, Ambassador. How do you see this ultimately playing out, both for Putin, for Russia, and ultimately the war in Ukraine?
I think the big picture is the weakness of Russia, both at the top and even on the lines, and the strength of the Ukrainians, as well as the preparation of the Ukrainians for this counteroffensive, which has been building for months. Comes at a great time for the Ukrainians. So I think the big picture is watch the Ukrainians over the next couple of weeks.
Always so helpful to hear from you, Ambassador Taylor. Thanks so much for joining us, as always.
Lindsay, thank you for having me.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.